Hi, welcome to Race Sensation. I'm your host, Dan, and in this episode, I am going to be taking a look at some of the black and white horror comics that Skywald put out in the 70s. And I'm going to be looking at them through these reissues that PS Art Books have put out. Now, PS Art Books are a UK-based publisher who have taken on the gargantuan task of reprinting every pre-code horror comic except those EC ones. And so they've been putting out a ton of these books. And now some of the reproductions of some of them have been a little hard to, the scans, some people felt were not that great. But I have a couple that are okay, and I hear that most of the later ones are really well done or better done than others. And since I haven't seen enough of them to know for sure, you don't see them in comic shops or anything, or at least I don't see them in any of the ones I go to. So I really can't tell. But these are okay because they are black and white. So the reproduction of these is a lot easier to do. Now, one thing I will say is that these were originally printed magazine size to compete with the Warren publications like Creepy and Eerie. But as you can see here, they are not reprinted at magazine size. So they are smaller than original. And I'm not sure why they decided to do that. And here you see that on the cover, they make sure this is a reproduction, but then they reprint it inside the cover so you see it exactly as it originally was. And this was the Heap was their version of Swamp Thing and Man Thing. And I'm not sure if he's actually supposed to be the same Heap that was in those pre-code horror comics or not, but there you go. So the thing I found interesting is when I was buying Creepy and Eerie, and even the Eerie publication knockoffs of the Warrens, and the Marvel black and white magazines, the things that were easiest for me to find were the Marvel ones. And when the Marvel ones came along, it actually became a little bit tougher to find the Creepy and Eerie. I think Marvel was using their clout to kind of push Warren aside on some newsstands. I don't know that for sure. I'm just going by, there were two main places where I found my magazines when I was a teen and a kid and then a teen. And that's just the way it was. And then Eerie Publications was probably like third down on the list. And then these were the last. I saw almost none of these when they came out. And so I wasn't that familiar with them. But I will say this. These are pretty interesting comics. There's a lot of guys who were doing regular comic work, like Rich Buckler and Chick Stone and Tom Palmer, Dan Atkins, doing this, and Marv Wolfman was writing for it. So Ross Andrew, is that how you say it? Mike Esposito. Those are all guys that were doing superhero type books, a lot for Marvel actually. And so I'm not sure how they all ended up here, but it's funny because these got the art in these speaks more to regular comics than the ones in the other magazines, to my mind. Like they're drawing. The other horror magazines were kind of drawing from the earlier things, the pre-code horror comics. These have a bit of style that I would think of as having to do with superhero aesthetics, and it might be because these guys have done so much, but this is much more of a regular action scene, like from a from a superhero book than a horror thing. And here's the heap. And yeah, so I'm not sure. Maybe it's just my imagination. Let me know what you think. I do like here when the guy has been changed into the heap. Look at the look on his face as he's swallowing. I think the rats are alive. Yeah, because there's the other ones going, scream. To think what I would someday find to be edible. Did the fire change my insides too? So, there's the grotesque heap. Going around for revenge. And then he, like a lot of these things, he becomes a hero because he takes care of bad guys. He fights other monsters and stuff. There we go. Those drug-taking hippies lose their mind. See all kinds of monsters and stuff. This is fun. This artwork's pretty cool. You know, the Zipatone is a little crude in some spots, but I think it's applied well. And you know, it doesn't take much to make me happy. There's some monsters here. A lot of monsters. This is a nice long story. But it's the drugs. They drove him crazy. He really never, he's not... Did anybody ever get this 100 stick-on stamps of the scariest movie monsters? How much of a disappointment were they? I know those binoculars were terrible. Death Stranger, you know, another out-of-control kind of guy. Dinosaurs. It seems like they're not trying too hard. Crime Machine. See, these are Skywald. I thought Crime Machine was an Erie pub. Guy battling in the arena. Nice. This Ming the Merciless knockoff. They're just throwing everything in here. Here's a fire-breathing dragon. Yeah, this monster mash. Look at this fight scene. That looks like it. These look like they were very quickly drawn. These are pretty wild. This Chick Stone. Oh. That's fun. That's fun. This does look, you know, Chick did a lot of time with the regular comics, and it kind of shows. I mean, like this dragon here, that's almost like drawn for a kid's comic. It's so cartoony. So you got this rotten zombie face, but then there's the dragon's kind of dream planet. The story in this one it's very reminiscent of this later Roger Corman movie, and that has a giant slug in it. Valley of Blood. I do like the you know, these those creatures are pretty cool. Here's a nice ad. This is one of the Severance drew this, obviously. But 8x10 natural color photos of David Cassidy and Bobby Sherman. You will love them. My sister would have loved those. My older sister, Beth. Yeah. Okay. Oh, this is Nightmare number 1. What is it? The underground comic that was all environmentally based or cruelty to animal kind of thing. It was Slow Death, I believe. This is the coming of the pollution monsters. I don't know what you're supposed to say, because it's ecological and ghouls mixed together. I'm not even sure how you would say it. They didn't care. They just had to print it. They didn't have to pronounce it for you. That seems like it would be right at home with those. Again, very, very crude, very, very, it seemed like it was very quickly done. This looks very Outlaw Comics. This actually reminds me of, who, is this Heck? Is this Don Heck? Does it even have the, doesn't say who it is. But it reminds me of Ken Landgraf and his stuff. Now this, this looks very pre-code too. This artwork's all over the place. But it's cool. I didn't have unlimited funds, and I used to mostly go for the Warrens black and white ones. At some point I kind of started disliking them. They started having so many continuing character stories, which I didn't like the Rook. I don't really remember the Rook very well. As a matter of fact, I can't tell you what the overriding story of that used to be. I thought I knew, and then I realized I was confusing it with something else. But I didn't like that kind of thing. And also, they did so many reprints reprints over the years that, somebody who'd been reading them a long time, like myself, so annoying, But, so I may or may not have bought some of these at the time. I mean, if I had seen them more often, I might have bought them more. Very much like this Tied to the Bed. That's like a Hammer film from the 60s or it starts getting to like Count Yorga and stuff here in the States in the 70s. A Nightmare pinup. Nice. Nice, very nice indeed. Short story. That's nice. That's a great drawing. Help Us to Die. Thing from the Sea. The Creature Within. Those vampire fangs so big you couldn't really close his mouth. New full-color posters. There's rock posters. Deadly Mark of the Beast, a werewolf one. Nice. Look at that. That's a good werewolf. It's a cross between the longer snouted creatures and a Larry Talbot type thing. There's those life-size giant monsters. I've got a friend who's got one of them. It's just they make a big deal out of it not just being a regular poster, but it's just because it's printed on plastic. That was the big deal. And the second issue of Nightmare, that is a weird weird picture because I couldn't tell if it was supposed to be Cerebus or if it was 3 dogs on one leash. But this one's got some of the wildest of the things. So Dan Atkins, that's probably Dan there. But that doesn't look like... So the names don't seem to be in order of how they are here. This is a pretty wild one. This is a lot of fun. This monsters coming from another dimension because of this machine that can make temperatures so cold. And he makes people's bodies fall apart. Then he has them reconstruct themselves into horrible monster servants to take over the world. I'm really not sure how well that plan's going to work out. But I do like these gruesome things. Look at that. They tear her apart. Layla. Oh, God, no. Luckily, they managed to contain them, freeze them up. I don't know why you would freeze them. Why not just burn them up? And of course, now you can thaw them out for a sequel. Haunted ship, the Mirror of Death. That looks like a Basil Wolverton face instead of a monster. Look at that thing. And then this, the genie that was or demon or whatever that was imprisoned in the mirror ends up imprisoning him. Look at him. I think that's his arm reaching up there, but then the hand is way down here. The Circle of Circe. And this is a funny one. Doesn't that look like Commandy? So this Circe changes men into, instead of pigs, they're changed into wolves. But the big shocking twist is that she's changing them into wolves because she comes from a planet where there's only females left, and they're female wolves. So they got these guys to bring them home and mate with them. So, hey, I think that's what these guys wanted anyway, was to mate with all these beautiful women. It's just that now they'll all be wolves instead. Oh, I like this creature from the Black Lagoon too. That's pretty fun. That's pretty wild. That is pretty wild. Blood for the Vampire. This robot. I'm sorry. That looks like from the earliest days of movie serials. Kind of terrible men in suits robots, and yet they're supposed to be so frightening. This one, they're not supposed to have pupils, but it almost looks like he has slitty pupils that are like glancing over his friend like, what are you thinking? Pressed for time. Well, this is another one. That was a goofy one. Anyway, those are some of these things. Now, the reason I got these was because Bud Plant, if you're not familiar with them, they specialize in fantasy art, and they have a lot of comic stuff too, but they like all kinds of the kind of stuff I cover on this channel, really. Although they do cover some more classical type paintings and stuff too. Painters, if they have a slightly fantastic bent to them, especially. But they have a great website, and these were in their discontinued, marked down stuff. So they were inexpensive, and I picked them up. I don't know how many they have, but who knows when you're watching this. There might be all gone, but even if these are gone, it's a great place to look. And actually, what happens sometimes is if they have a book that's damaged and they can't sell it full price, sometimes brand new books that have just come out in hardback, there'll be a damaged hardback there for cheap. Some really great deals I've gotten there over the years. So you might check out Bud Plant's website. I thought these were a lot of fun, and I'm glad I picked them up. These, like I said, I got very few of these when I was younger, and it wasn't any of these issues. I had never seen these issues before. I wish I was better at picking out some of the, some of these guys, I can't really pick them out because they were doing superhero comics that I wasn't reading. So I know they were doing superhero comics. I know I saw some of their work. I think I can recognize them, but putting those, because they don't have the names with which comics they've done inside, I can't be sure. So, but these are nice. They look different enough. You can tell the difference between these and like the Warrens or the Eerie publications. I'm not really. I really need to check out some of the Marvel black and white horror stuff again, because I kept my Savage Sword of Conan's, but I don't have very many at all left of the horror stuff, so I don't really remember all that. As a matter of fact, there's one issue that I constantly wish I still had, and I have seen it occasionally online, but they want too much for it. I'm only going to pay so much for these things. So anyway, thanks for watching, and hope to see you again soon. Hit the like button, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. All right? Thanks very much.